poor mother feeds her twin girls a hot dog on Christmas Eve. Then a billionaire biker steps in. Despite the bright lights and festive decorations that hung from every shop and lamppost, not everyone shared in the holiday joy. In a small, worn-down apartment building on the edge of the city, Maria pulled her thin coat tighter around her shoulders, trying to shield herself from the harsh winter chill. Her twin daughters, Lily and Rose, clung to her hands as they walked, their small boots crunching in the thin layer of snow covering the sidewalks. The girls' cheeks were rosy from the cold, their eyes wide with excitement as they looked at the glowing lights and colorful displays in the shop windows. Maria's heart ached as she watched them. She wanted more than anything to give them a magical Christmas, full of warmth, laughter, and gifts. But reality was harsh, and she could feel the weight of it pressing down on her shoulders. She had been struggling for months to make ends meet, working long hours at a small cafe for meager pay. Every coin was carefully accounted for, every meal carefully measured, and yet it still never seemed enough. Christmas, once a season of joy and hope for her, had become a painful reminder of everything she couldn't provide. The apartment they lived in was small and cramped, the paint on the walls peeling in places, and the heater struggling to keep the room warm. There were signs of wear everywhere, stains on the carpet, a broken window latch, a door that didn't quite close properly. Despite this, Maria tried to make the apartment a home. She had decorated the tiny space with the little she could afford. A small artificial Christmas tree in the corner, a few strings of lights, and a handful of paper ornaments made by the girls themselves. Even with her limited means, she had tried to create a sense of warmth and joy. Tonight, however, the small apartment felt emptier than ever. The twins kept asking about presents, their innocent excitement tugging painfully at Maria's heart. She had no gifts to give, no feast to prepare, and the last few coins in her pocket could barely cover even a single treat. She sighed quietly, feeling a lump form in her throat, and took a deep breath. "Come on, girls," she said softly. "Let's take a walk. Maybe we'll find something special." The girls' eyes lit up at the suggestion, and they eagerly followed her into the night. As they walked, they passed families hurrying past, laughing and carrying brightly wrapped packages. The contrast was almost unbearable, but Maria forced a smile. She wanted her daughters to see Christmas as a time of joy, not sadness. Every laugh, every twinkle of a light in their eyes became a small victory against the harsh reality of their situation. They walked through the bustling streets, past crowds of people carrying bags from fancy stores, past carolers singing cheerful songs, and past decorated shop windows filled with toys and sweets. Maria felt a pang of envy and sadness at every turn, wishing she could provide her daughters with the same happiness. Her stomach growled faintly, reminding her that they had not eaten much that day, but she ignored it. Hunger could wait. Tonight was about making memories, no matter how small. Finally, as they rounded a corner, Maria spotted a street vendor selling hot dogs and other small snacks. The warm smell of cooked meat and fresh bread reached her nose, making her stomach growl louder. She peered at the vendor's small cart and counted the few coins left in her pocket. It wasn't enough for a full meal, but perhaps it was enough for a small treat. With a quiet sigh, she reached into her pocket and handed over the last few coins for a single hot dog. The vendor gave her a warm, steaming hot dog wrapped in a paper napkin. Maria held it carefully, feeling both relief and sorrow. This small meal would have to do. She turned to her daughters, who were watching her with wide, eager eyes. "Girls," she said softly, "here, this is for you." She handed the hot dog to Lily first, then Rose. The twins' faces lit up with joy. "Thank you, Mama," they exclaimed in unison, their voices filled with genuine happiness. They didn't care that it was just a simple hot dog. To them, it was a treasure. They took small bites, giggling and sharing the food between them, their laughter cutting through the cold night air like a melody. Maria watched them with tears in her eyes, feeling a mix of pride, love, and helplessness. As the girls ate, Maria stood quietly, her hands in her coat pockets, trying to stay warm. She watched the bustling streets around her, noticing the happy faces, the families walking together, and the festive decorations. It was a beautiful sight, and yet she felt painfully aware of her own limitations. She wanted to give her daughters more than this, wanted to see them open gifts and eat a proper Christmas dinner, but she didn't have the means. All she could do was watch them smile and hope that the small joy of this hot dog could make up for what she could not provide. The cold wind blew again, making Maria shiver. She wrapped her arms around herself and looked down at her daughters. "I wish I could do more for you," she whispered, almost to herself. The girls looked up at her with innocent smiles, oblivious to the weight of her words. "This is perfect, Mama," Lily said softly. "I love it." Rose nodded in agreement, her mouth full of hot dog. "It's the best Christmas ever," she exclaimed. Maria smiled through her tears, feeling a warmth in her heart that had little to do with the temperature outside. In that moment, she realized that happiness didn't always come from material things. Sometimes, it came from the love shared in small moments, from the laughter of children, from the simple act of giving what little you had. As they finished the last bites of the hot dog, Maria noticed something unusual in the distance. The low rumble of a motorcycle engine reached her ears, growing louder with each passing second. At first, she thought it was just a delivery bike, but then she saw a group of motorcycles approaching, their engines roaring through the streets. The bikers were dressed in leather jackets, the cold wind whipping through their hair as they passed. Maria instinctively pulled her daughters closer, both out of protection and curiosity. Among the group, one biker stood out. He rode a sleek black motorcycle with chrome accents that gleamed in the streetlights. His presence was commanding, yet there was something different about him, an air of confidence mixed with kindness. He slowed his bike as he approached Maria and the girls, noticing them standing alone in the cold. Maria felt a twinge of nervousness. She had learned over the years to be cautious around strangers, especially men, but something about this biker made her pause. He pulled off his helmet, revealing a warm, friendly face. "Hello there," he said in a calm, deep voice. "Are you all right?" Maria hesitated, unsure how to respond. We're fine," she said softly, glancing at her daughters who were staring at the biker with wide, curious eyes. "Just enjoying the Christmas lights." The biker smiled. "I can see that," he said, nodding at the girls. "It's a beautiful night for it, but you shouldn't be out here in the cold without a proper meal." Maria felt a mix of embarrassment and relief. She didn't want pity, but she appreciated the concern. We had a hot dog," she said quietly. "It's enough for now." The biker chuckled softly. "A hot dog is better than nothing," he said. "But Christmas is a time for a little more than just survival, don't you think?" The twins looked up at the biker, their eyes wide with curiosity and excitement. "Are you Santa?" Lily asked with a giggle. "On a motorcycle?" The biker laughed heartily. "Not exactly," he said, smiling, "but I do like to help out when I can." Maria felt a strange sense of hope rising within her. There was something about this man, something kind and genuine. Perhaps, just perhaps, tonight could hold a little more magic than she had dared to hope for. As the motorcycles rode slowly past, the biker gave her a reassuring nod. Maria watched them disappear into the distance, feeling a spark of anticipation she hadn't felt in years. She looked down at her daughters, who were still clutching each other and giggling softly. In that moment, she realized that Christmas could still hold surprises, that hope could appear even in the coldest, darkest nights. Maria took a deep breath, wrapping her arms around her daughters. "Come on," she said softly. "Let's head home." The girls nodded, their faces glowing with happiness despite the simplicity of their meal. As they walked back through the snowy streets, Maria held their hands tightly, determined to cherish this moment, this small but precious memory. The city around them continued to shine with festive lights, laughter, and music. But for Maria, the most important light was the warmth of her daughters' smiles, the sound of their laughter, and the hope that perhaps, this Christmas, something extraordinary could happen. Little did she know, it was just the beginning of a night that would change their lives forever. The rumble of the motorcycles faded into the distance, leaving behind a quiet street dusted with fresh snow. Maria tightened her coat around herself and her daughters, walking slowly through the dimly lit sidewalks. Her heart still raced from the unexpected encounter. There was something about the biker that had unsettled her in the gentlest way. His presence was both commanding and comforting, a strange combination that made her feel cautious but strangely safe. Lily and Rose walked closely by her side, their little hands clutching hers tightly, oblivious to the tension she felt but curious about the stranger they had just met. The twins couldn't stop talking about the biker. "Mama, he smiled at us, and he laughed. And he asked if we were okay," Lily said, her small voice bubbling with excitement. Rose nodded vigorously, adding, "And he rides a real motorcycle, just like in the movies." Maria smiled softly at their excitement, trying to push down the worry that always lingered in the back of her mind. Life had been so difficult lately, and the thought of accepting help from strangers made her uneasy. But she also couldn't ignore the spark of hope that the biker had ignited, a tiny flame she hadn't felt in years. They continued walking, their boots crunching against the thin layer of snow. The city was alive with holiday activity. Families hurried past, carrying shopping bags and gifts, and street performers entertained small crowds with cheerful music. The warmth of the city lights seemed almost magical against the cold night, but Maria's thoughts were elsewhere. She wondered who the biker was and why he had stopped for them. Most people in the city were too busy with their own lives to notice strangers, especially a single mother and her children. As they passed a small park, Maria noticed the twins slowing down, staring at the bright lights strung across the trees. "They look like stars, Mama," Lily exclaimed, pointing at the lights. Rose reached out her hand, trying to touch the glowing bulbs. Maria laughed quietly. "Yes, they do. Aren't they beautiful?" she said. Despite the cold and the exhaustion, she felt a moment of joy watching her daughters marvel at something so simple. Suddenly, a familiar roar echoed through the streets. Maria's heart skipped a beat as she turned to see the group of motorcycles returning. This time, they slowed to a stop right in front of her and the girls. The same biker she had noticed earlier stepped off his motorcycle and walked toward them. His boots crunched in the snow and his jacket creaked as he moved. Maria instinctively took a small step back, unsure what to expect. "Hello again," the biker said, his voice calm and friendly. He bent slightly to meet the girls' gaze. "I couldn't help but notice you two enjoying your hot dog. You girls have a wonderful spirit, you know that." Lily and Rose giggled, and Rose asked, "Do you really like Christmas too?" "I do," the biker replied, smiling, "and I especially like helping people enjoy it. It's the best time of the year to make a difference." Maria felt her heart tighten. She had spent countless Christmases worrying about how she would provide for her daughters, how she would stretch her tiny paycheck to cover rent, food, and the little joys she wished she could give them. Now, standing before this stranger, she felt an unfamiliar mixture of relief and caution. "That's very kind of you," she said softly. "But we're fine, really. We don't need anything else." The biker shook his head gently. "Sometimes we don't realize how much we need a little help. It's okay to accept it, especially on Christmas." Maria hesitated, looking down at the snow-covered street. She felt a strange tug inside her, part pride, part desperation. She had been taught to rely on herself, to face hardships without asking for help. But this man didn't seem to judge her, didn't seem to want anything from her in return. There was sincerity in his eyes, something that made her want to trust him. "Come with me," he said after a moment, noticing her hesitation. "There's a place nearby where you can warm up and have a proper meal. It's nothing fancy, but it's warm and festive." The twins' eyes widened instantly. "A real meal." "Really, Mama?" Lily asked, bouncing on the balls of her feet. Rose's eyes sparkled as she whispered, "Can we go?" Maria took a deep breath, looking from the girls' excited faces to the biker standing before her. Something inside her told her that it was safe. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she said softly. "We'll come with you." The biker smiled warmly and led them toward a small diner just a few blocks away. The streets were less crowded here, and the soft glow of lights spilling from the diner's windows gave the place a cozy, inviting appearance. Maria could smell the faint aroma of cooked food even before entering, and her stomach growled quietly. She had not eaten properly in hours, and the thought of a warm meal made her cheeks flush with relief. As they entered the diner, a small bell chimed above the door. The interior was decorated for Christmas, with twinkling lights, garlands hanging along the walls, and a small artificial tree in the corner adorned with shiny ornaments. The warm air felt like a soft blanket after the harsh cold outside. Maria led the twins to a booth by the window, sitting down carefully to make sure their coats didn't touch the table. The biker took a seat across from them, keeping a respectful distance but smiling warmly at the girls. "So," he said, leaning back slightly, "what are your names?" "I'm Lily," the older twin said, her voice shy but curious. "And this is Rose." "It's nice to meet you both," the biker said kindly. "I'm Jackson." Maria felt a flutter of surprise at his name, but she kept her voice steady. "Maria," she said simply, "it's nice to meet you too." A waitress came over, taking their order with a cheerful smile. Maria was too embarrassed to order much, knowing they could barely afford it, but Jackson insisted. "Don't worry about it," he said, handing over a few bills. "Let's make this Christmas special." The twins' faces lit up with joy, and Maria felt a lump form in her throat. She had never experienced such generosity before, and the warmth of the moment was almost overwhelming. They ordered simple dishes, pancakes, eggs, and hot chocolate for the girls, and a small breakfast for Maria. Jackson ordered a few extra treats, smiling as he told the waitress it was for the girls. As they waited for the food, Jackson struck up a gentle conversation, asking about their lives, their favorite things, and what they liked about Christmas. Maria answered quietly, grateful for his easy manner that didn't make her feel judged. The twins laughed and chatted, completely at ease in the warm, festive environment. For the first time in years, Maria felt a small weight lift from her shoulders. When the food arrived, the girls' eyes widened in delight. They eagerly dug in, savoring every bite, their laughter filling the small diner. Maria watched them, her heart full. It was a simple meal, but it felt like a feast. She felt tears prick her eyes as she watched Lily and Rose share pancakes, helping each other with small bites and giggling at the syrup that dripped onto their plates. Jackson watched them with a quiet smile, clearly pleased with the scene. "They're wonderful," he said softly to Maria. "You've done an amazing job raising them." Maria shook her head, embarrassed. I just try," she said. "Sometimes it feels like I'm failing, like I can't give them the life they deserve." Jackson leaned back in his seat, his expression gentle. "You're giving them something far more important than gifts or wealth," he said. "You're giving them love, care, and a sense of hope. That's more valuable than anything money can buy." Maria felt a lump in her throat, unable to find words to respond. She looked at her daughters, who were happily enjoying their meal, and felt a surge of gratitude. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not for her struggles, but for the love she poured into her daughters every day. After the meal, Jackson suggested a small walk outside before they returned home. The twins were ecstatic, and Maria felt a warmth in her chest that had little to do with the temperature. They walked through the softly falling snow, their laughter echoing off the quiet streets. Jackson walked beside them, keeping a respectful distance but occasionally offering his arm when the girls stumbled or slipped on the icy sidewalk. The night felt magical. The city, the lights, the snow, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger made everything seem brighter, warmer, and filled with possibility. Maria realized that sometimes miracles didn't have to be grand or flashy. They could come quietly in the form of a kind gesture, a warm meal, or the simple act of noticing someone who needed help. As they approached the girls' apartment building, Jackson paused. "I hope tonight has been special for you," he said gently. "You deserve moments like this, moments that remind you life can be kind even when it's hard." Maria nodded, feeling tears welling in her eyes. "It has been more than I could have hoped," she whispered. Lily and Rose hugged her tightly, their small arms wrapped around her in warm embraces. Jackson smiled at the sight. "Merry Christmas," he said softly, giving Maria a reassuring nod. Then, with a final wave to the girls, he turned and walked back toward the motorcycles waiting down the street. Maria watched him disappear into the distance, feeling a strange mix of gratitude, hope, and awe. She looked down at her daughters, who were still giggling and talking about the night's adventure, and realized that this Christmas had already been extraordinary. For the first time in years, Maria felt a small spark of hope for the future, a feeling that no matter how hard life got, kindness could appear in the most unexpected forms. And sometimes it could come riding in on a roaring motorcycle, wearing a leather jacket and a warm smile. The next morning, the city woke to a blanket of fresh snow that glistened under the soft morning light. Maria sat by the window in her small apartment, wrapped in a worn blanket, watching her twin daughters, Lily and Rose, play quietly with the few small toys they had. Their laughter filled the tiny room, bouncing off the walls and creating warmth that the old heater could not. Maria smiled softly, her heart heavy with love and a lingering sense of wonder from the night before. The memory of Jackson, the biker who had appeared like a Christmas miracle, lingered in her mind. She had never expected anyone to notice her little family, let alone offer them kindness so freely. Even now, as she watched her daughters sharing their tiny toys, she felt a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. The world had seemed so harsh for so long, and yet here was proof that hope still existed. Just as Maria was lost in thought, Lily and Rose ran to her, eyes sparkling with excitement. "Mama, can we go see Jackson again?" Lily asked eagerly. "He gave us the best Christmas yesterday." Maria hesitated, unsure what to say. She knew he had helped them out of generosity, not obligation. But looking at her daughter's eager faces, she felt a tug in her heart. We can try," she said softly, smiling. "Maybe we can see him if he's around." The girls squealed with delight, and they bundled up quickly, wrapping scarves and hats around themselves to face the crisp winter air. Maria followed behind them, careful not to let their small hands slip from hers. As they walked through the quiet streets, the city seemed transformed by the snow. The lights from the shops reflected off the white ground, creating a magical glow that made the night feel almost like a dream. They soon arrived at the diner where Jackson had taken them the night before. To Maria's relief, he was there, leaning casually against his motorcycle, which gleamed under the streetlights. His presence was calm yet powerful, and the twins immediately ran toward him, their excitement bubbling over. "Jackson!" Rose exclaimed. "We wanted to see you." Lily followed, tugging at his jacket playfully. Jackson laughed warmly, bending down to greet them. "Well, hello again," he said. "I'm glad to see you're still full of energy this morning." Maria approached more cautiously. "We thank you again for last night," she said softly. "It meant more to us than I can explain." Jackson smiled kindly. "It was my pleasure. I just wanted to make sure you and the girls had a happy Christmas, and judging by these smiles, I think it worked." The twins chattered excitedly about everything that had happened. The warm meal, the pancakes, and the hot chocolate, reliving the magical moments with all the innocence and joy only children could possess. Jackson listened patiently, laughing and nodding at their stories, clearly enjoying their enthusiasm. After a few moments, he gestured for them to follow him. "I thought today we could make Christmas even more special," he said. "There's a little place not far from here that I think you'll love." Maria glanced at him, her heart pounding with curiosity and cautious hope. "What place?" she asked softly. "You'll see," Jackson replied, smiling mysteriously. "Just trust me." They followed him through the city streets, the snow crunching beneath their boots. Jackson led them to a small toy store, its windows decorated with twinkling lights and festive ornaments. The sight made the twins gasp in wonder, their eyes wide with delight. Inside, the store was filled with toys of every kind, dolls, puzzles, stuffed animals, and little trinkets that sparkled in the soft light. The girls ran from aisle to aisle, their laughter echoing through the store. Jackson watched them with a warm smile. "Go ahead," he said gently. "Pick something that makes your heart happy." Maria felt a lump form in her throat as she watched the twins. She had never imagined they could experience this kind of joy, not because she didn't want it for them, but because life had always made it impossible. Now, seeing them surrounded by toys and possibilities, she felt a surge of gratitude she couldn't fully express. Lily picked a small stuffed rabbit, hugging it tightly to her chest. Rose chose a miniature tea set, imagining herself hosting a grand tea party. They thanked Jackson repeatedly, their voices filled with pure excitement and innocence. Maria smiled, realizing that for the first time in years, her daughters were experiencing a Christmas filled with magic, not just survival. Jackson guided Maria to a quieter corner of the store. "You don't have to worry about anything right now," he said softly. "Tonight it's just about making memories." Maria shook her head, overwhelmed. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Jackson placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "No thanks necessary, just seeing you and the girls happy is enough for me. Sometimes we're lucky enough to cross paths with people who need a little help, and it's okay to accept it." After the girls finished picking out their toys, Jackson took them to a small cafe nearby. This time, it was a cozy place with warm lights and soft music playing in the background. They ordered pastries, hot chocolate, and little sandwiches, enjoying the warmth and comfort. The girls chattered endlessly, sharing stories and giggling over the smallest details, while Maria finally allowed herself to relax. As they sat together, Jackson asked Maria about her life, her struggles, and her hopes. Maria hesitated at first, not wanting to burden him with her worries, but something about his genuine interest and gentle demeanor made her open up. She told him about her long hours at the cafe, the challenges of raising twins on her own, and the constant worry about providing even the simplest joys for her daughters. Jackson listened without interruption, his expression thoughtful. "You've done an incredible job," he said finally. Raising children is hard under any circumstances, but doing it alone, that takes courage and love. You've given your daughters something priceless. Maria felt tears prick her eyes. She had spent so long feeling inadequate, worrying that she couldn't provide enough. Hearing Jackson acknowledge her efforts, not for material things but for her love and dedication, was overwhelming. She realized that sometimes, kindness and recognition mattered just as much as gifts or money. After their meal, Jackson suggested a walk through the nearby park, where the city had set up a small Christmas display with lights, a fake snow area, and little wooden stalls selling holiday treats. The twins ran ahead, their laughter blending with the cheerful music playing from a nearby speaker. Maria followed slowly, her hands tucked in her coat pockets, watching her daughters play and knowing that these moments were precious and fleeting. Jackson walked beside her, keeping the conversation light and comforting. He told stories about his travels, the people he had met, and the small acts of kindness he had witnessed over the years. Maria listened, feeling a sense of calm and reassurance. There was a wisdom in his words, a gentle understanding of life's difficulties, and yet an unwavering belief in the goodness of people. The girls came running back to them, holding small treats they had bought with Jackson's guidance. "Mama, look. We got cookies and candy canes," Rose exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. Lily held up a small bag of chocolate, hugging it tightly. Maria felt her heart swell with happiness at the sight. For once, she didn't have to worry about how to make her daughters happy. They were simply happy, and that was enough. As the night grew darker, Jackson led them to a small open area in the park where a volunteer group had set up a miniature stage for carolers. The sound of voices singing familiar Christmas songs filled the air, mixing with the laughter of children and the distant hum of the city. Maria felt a sense of peace wash over her. The struggles of the past months, the long hours, the worries about money and survival, they all seemed to fade, replaced by the warmth of her daughter's smiles and the unexpected generosity of a kind stranger. Jackson knelt down to the twins' level. "You girls are amazing," he said softly. "I hope you remember this Christmas not because of the gifts, but because of the joy and love you shared with each other." Lily and Rose hugged him tightly, their small arms wrapping around his jacket. Maria watched, feeling tears stream down her face. She had never imagined that a single night could bring so much happiness, not just to her daughters but to herself as well. As the evening drew to a close, Jackson handed Maria a small envelope. She hesitated, unsure what it contained, but he encouraged her to open it. Inside was a note and a small amount of money, along with information about local resources that could help her with food and winter supplies. The gesture was practical, but more importantly, it was filled with thoughtfulness and care. Maria felt a deep sense of gratitude. She looked at Jackson, trying to find the words to express the overwhelming emotions inside her. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Jackson smiled warmly. "No thanks needed," he said. "Just promise me you'll take care of yourselves and enjoy the moments that make life beautiful." The family walked back toward their apartment, the twins holding her hands tightly, their little voices filled with chatter about the night's adventures. Maria felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Life would still be challenging, but she had experienced the power of kindness, the magic of generosity, and the warmth of a stranger's heart. That night, as they settled into their small apartment, Maria watched her daughters fall asleep, their faces peaceful and content. She held the envelope close, knowing that this Christmas had been unlike any other. It wasn't about the gifts or the food alone. It was about hope, love, and the unexpected miracles that could appear when you least expected them. For the first time in years, Maria felt a quiet certainty. That life, despite its hardships, still held moments of magic, and sometimes those moments could change everything. The snow outside fell gently, covering the city in a soft, white blanket. Maria sat by the window of her small apartment, her daughters asleep on either side of her on the tiny couch. Lily's small hand rested on her mother's arm, and Rose's head was tucked against Maria's shoulder. The room was quiet except for the occasional hum of the old heater and the muffled sounds of the city outside. Maria took a deep breath, feeling the warmth from her daughters and the memories of the past 2 days fill her heart. The events of the last night seemed almost like a dream. A simple hot dog had led to the unexpected kindness of Jackson, the billionaire biker, and had transformed what she thought would be a lonely, cold Christmas into a magical experience. The warmth, laughter, and generosity she and her daughters had experienced left her feeling both grateful and reflective. Maria knew life would not suddenly become easy, but for the first time in a long time, she felt hope. She looked down at Lily and Rose, sleeping peacefully, their faces serene and joyful. Memories of the past months flashed in her mind. The struggles, the long hours at the cafe, the constant worry about how she would provide even the smallest joys for her daughters. She remembered nights when she cried quietly after tucking them into bed, wishing she could give them more. Now she felt a strange and comforting sense of reassurance. She had seen that goodness existed in the world, and sometimes it arrived when least expected. The next morning, the girls woke up full of energy and excitement. They rushed to Maria, their voices echoing through the small apartment. "Mama, Mama, can we play with our new toys?" Lily exclaimed. Rose added, "And can we show you the chocolate we got from Jackson?" Maria laughed softly, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "Of course, my loves," she said, hugging them gently. They spent the morning playing with the new toys and sharing the treats Jackson had helped them pick. The small apartment, which usually felt cramped and cold, was filled with laughter, chatter, and the joyful energy of children who felt truly cherished. As the day went on, Maria realized that the generosity she had received was not just about material things. Jackson had given her family more than gifts. He had given them experiences, moments of joy, and a reminder that kindness existed in the world. The girls' laughter, the warmth of the cafe, the simple joy of choosing a toy, they were all miracles in their own way. Maria felt her heart swell with gratitude. Later that afternoon, Maria decided to take the girls for a walk to enjoy the snow. She bundled them in their warmest coats and scarves, holding their hands tightly as they stepped outside. The streets were quieter now, with families returning home after shopping or visiting friends. The snow sparkled in the light of the street lamps, and the city felt calm and peaceful. As they walked, the twins chattered excitedly about their new toys, the treats they had received, and the magical night they had shared with Jackson. Maria smiled, listening to them, feeling the weight of worry lift from her shoulders. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine a future where joy and hope were not fleeting, but constant companions. They reached a small park where children were building snowmen and families were enjoying the winter day. Lily and Rose ran ahead, their laughter carrying through the crisp air. Maria watched them, feeling a sense of pride and love that words could not describe. She knew that life would continue to have challenges, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them, especially with the love of her daughters guiding her. Jackson appeared again, as if by chance, riding slowly along the street. The girls spotted him immediately and ran toward him, their faces lighting up with excitement. Maria felt a mix of surprise and gratitude. His presence had been a source of unexpected magic in their lives. "Jackson!" Lily and Rose shouted in unison, running up to him. They hugged him tightly, their laughter filling the air. Jackson smiled warmly, kneeling down to their level. "Hello, my little friends," he said. "I see you're enjoying your toys and treats." "We are," Rose exclaimed. "Thank you again for everything." Jackson nodded, looking at Maria with a gentle smile. "It's my pleasure," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you all had a memorable Christmas. Seeing your smiles is enough for me." Maria felt tears prick her eyes. "You've done more than you can imagine," she said softly. "You've given us hope, joy, and memories we'll never forget." Jackson shook his head. "Sometimes we all need a little help to see the magic in life," he said. "You've given your daughters love, courage, and resilience. That's something no one can take away from them or from you." They spent the afternoon together, walking through the park, building small snowmen and sharing stories. Jackson's presence was calm and reassuring, allowing Maria to relax in a way she hadn't in years. The girls laughed, played, and felt safe and loved, their faces glowing with happiness. Maria watched them, feeling the profound truth of Jackson's words. The love she gave her daughters was the foundation of everything. As the evening approached, Jackson suggested they visit a small community center where local volunteers had set up a Christmas celebration for families in need. The center was warm and inviting, decorated with lights, ornaments, and a small stage for performances. Children played with new toys, volunteers handed out treats, and the sound of carols filled the room. Maria, Lily, and Rose joined the festivities, feeling a sense of belonging and joy. Jackson stayed nearby, quietly observing, ensuring that the family felt safe and comfortable. The girls danced and sang along with other children, their laughter echoing through the hall. Maria watched, feeling tears of happiness stream down her face. The room was filled with warmth, kindness, and the magic of Christmas, and she realized that generosity and compassion had the power to change lives. After a while, Jackson led the family to a quiet corner of the center. He handed Maria a small envelope, similar to the one from the previous night. "This is for you," he said softly, "a little help to make the coming months easier and some resources to guide you if you ever need them." Maria opened the envelope carefully, her hands trembling. Inside was a modest sum of money, along with information about local programs that could provide support for food, clothing, and basic necessities. She felt a wave of gratitude so powerful that it brought her to tears. This was more than generosity. It was thoughtful, practical, and filled with genuine care. "I don't know how to thank you," Maria whispered, her voice breaking slightly. Jackson smiled warmly. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "Just promise me that you'll take care of yourself and your daughters. Remember the joy, the kindness, and the hope you've experienced, and pass it on when you can." The family walked back toward their apartment as the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold. The twins held Maria's hands tightly, their faces glowing with happiness. Maria felt a renewed sense of determination. She knew that life would continue to present challenges, but she also knew that hope, love, and kindness could guide her through even the darkest moments. Back in the apartment, Maria tucked her daughters into bed, watching as they drifted into peaceful sleep. She sat by the window for a long while, reflecting on the events of the past 2 days. The kindness of Jackson, the warmth of the diner, the joy of the toy store, and the laughter-filled moments in the park, all of it had created memories that would last a lifetime. Maria realized that Christmas was not about gifts or wealth, but about love, connection, and the simple joys that made life meaningful. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experiences she had shared with her daughters, and for the reminder that generosity and compassion existed in the world. That night, as snow continued to fall softly outside, Maria made a silent promise to herself. She would continue to face life's challenges with courage and love. She would cherish every moment with her daughters, no matter how small, and she would carry the lessons of kindness and hope forward, sharing them whenever she could. Jackson's unexpected intervention had done more than provide a warm meal or gifts. It had reignited a spark of hope in Maria's heart, reminding her that miracles could appear in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes they came riding on a motorcycle with a warm smile, a kind word, and a generous heart. The story of that Christmas became a cherished memory for Maria and her daughters. It was a story of resilience, love, and the extraordinary impact of a stranger's kindness. Lily and Rose would grow up remembering the magical Christmas, when a simple hot dog led to warmth, laughter, and hope that would stay with them forever. And as Maria looked at her daughters, sleeping peacefully, she understood a profound truth. No matter how hard life became, love and kindness could light the darkest nights, and sometimes the smallest acts of generosity could change lives in ways that would be remembered for a lifetime.